You're listening to a download from the outdoorstation.co.uk.
Number 302.
Hello, welcome back to what probably will be the final episode from here in Friedrichshafen, the huge European fair taking place down here on the lakes shore of Lake Constance. And as you've probably picked up from the previous podcasts, there's an awful lot going on, a vast amount of halls, 12, 14 halls, each of which are huge, and we've certainly been very, very grateful to have some lightweight footwear to keep our feet cool as we're wandering up and down these very, very hot buildings. The weather wasn't too good last night. The big party night, which is the Saturday night, usually is a massive a case of all the international people in the wholesale retail network letting their hair down a bit, but just at the point when it all was about to kick off, the heavens opened and a summer thunderstorm certainly unleashed its full power. So it was not quite as exciting as it potentially could have been, but exciting in a completely different way. But Rose and I were actually shattered, so we actually headed back early, and although we got soaking wet back to the campsite, we soon tucked in and actually were quite glad to get an early night. But anyway, what have we got for you on this particular episode? Well, I booked a few appointments with people related to products I've seen, and I've got a very, very special appointment with a company which people will probably start to become aware of in the UK, namely Evernew from Japan. Although they're not actually displaying here, they've actually booked a room to meet all their distributors and the press and so on, and I'm hoping to catch up with them a bit later on this afternoon. Another person which I think will be of great interest to a lot of the UK lightweight market is Dale Karikostas, and he's the director of tents and shelters for Cascade Designs. And the MSR stand has certainly got a few interesting new products which will be coming through, which I'll have a chat with him about. But first of all, I had an appointment with Tammy Fairweather, who is the PR manager, again from Cascade Designs, and they were showing quite a large range actually of hydration packs, specifically from Platypus, and designed differently this time, from the hydration unit outwards as opposed from the pack, and then finding a space to put the hydration unit. So I'll let Tammy Fairweather pick up the story, and I had a good conversation with her about what this new range contains.
We consider ourselves experts in hydration. We think especially our Big Zip SL reservoir is one of the best ones available. As far as standard features in a reservoir, you have the quick release valve, you have the wide mouth opening so you can fill it easily, you can clean it easily, you have taste-free film, and you can see through it, so you can see what's going on in your water bladder if you need to. So in studying and making hydration reservoirs, we've used a lot of packs. And what we've realized is that most of the time the hydration reservoirs are actually an afterthought, isn't it? Yeah, you put it in. So we decided there was an opportunity really and a need to build a pack around the hydration. So starting with superior hydration and making a designated side of the pack for the hydration, and then adding the gear and the pack around that.
Okay, so I mean we've got a range of sizes here, and that's the smallest there, is it? 3 litre?
It's 3 litre. They're all called the Origin Platypus Origin pack.
Just stop you there. Now, does that 3 litre include the literage of the water, or is that additional to?
Yeah, it's called the Origin 3 because it's 3 litres, and that's designating the gear storage. So the 3 litres is the size that you have all for gear. That does not include the 2 litres of hydration reservoir that you have available, but you can also fit a 3 litre Platypus Big Zip SL in there too.
Okay, so if I can just repeat that so I've got it clear in my mind.
Sure.
All the packs come with a 2 litre big mouth system.
Most of them, depending on the size. The Origin 3, which is a 3 litre, comes with a 2 litre reservoir. Mm-hmm. The Origin 5, which is 5 litres gear storage, comes with a 2 litre. Then you go up to the other day pack, which is the Origin 9. It's 9 litres of gear, but it has a 3 litre reservoir in it. And then the larger 2 packs, which are the Origin 22 and the Origin 32. The 22 comes with a 2-liter reservoir, and the 32 comes with a 3-liter reservoir.
Okay.
Although that's what it comes with, that's what it's sold with, all of them can accommodate a 3-liter reservoir.
So 3 litres of liquid, obviously. I presume then the target market are endurance runners, long-distance runners, cyclists, that type of thing?
Yes, yeah. And it's really based on how... these are multi-sport packs. They're for anybody that needs hydration on their back, hands-free hydration. And really they're built on how much time you might be out. So the 3-liter reservoir, the Origin 3, is for 1 to 3 hours, and where the Origin 5 is more for 2 to 4 hours. And then you get into more fast packing. When you get into the larger day packs, you could do them overnight or even multi-overnight with the 32-liter.
Okay, well, look, can we take the 32-litre down and just have a look at that one? And if you could just talk me through the various features which they all share amongst the range.
Yeah.
But first thing I would say is that the 22-litre and 32-litre have got an additional helmet strap attachment idea.
They do.
The others, not quite, is that right? Oh yeah, they've got attachment points on there as well.
Different kinds.
Okay, but let's specifically talk about the 32-litre then.
Sure. The 32-liter has two gear pockets. One is the hydration storage compartment, and that's separated by a waterproof panel. So if anything did happen, perhaps if you were filling your reservoir in the pack and you missed the opening, your gear is going to be okay on the other side. The additional benefit to that is if you have wet gear, when you're done, you can also store it in there when your bladder's empty. And then the gear storage area is on the front of that, right ahead of the hydration section, and there's a internal organizer compartment that's built in with mesh. So again, if you need to put anything in there that might need to dry out.
Well, it's typical people who tend to put the keys and wallets and so on there.
Right, things you can get in there quickly.
Yeah.
And the whole pack itself is made with weather-resistant fabric, which is unique to hydration packs as well. Because if you're out and it is raining, or even if you're wearing it on your back on a mountain bike, you might get splashed with mud, and this way it's going to keep everything clean. And they're waterproof zippers as well, kind of following that theme. And then we have these great fast stash pockets, which are in every pack. And it's where you can just follow your straps around your chest, and if you need to tuck something really quickly, you have that pocket to do that.
The side pockets as well.
Yeah.
And then obviously for cyclists, there are a couple of reflective attachment points here.
Yes, yep, reflective, and this could be for your eye sacks. You can also, all of them are removable. That's another thing. I mean, we have them on here in case you need them, but you can remove them if you want to even save more weight and not have as many little gadgets hanging off. Not that there's very many in the first place.
No.
Because that's the whole idea. We want to streamline these.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that actually appealed to me most of all about these is the fact you're telling me they come in different back lengths.
They do, yes. Actually, the two larger sizes, the Origin 22 and the Origin 32, come in two different torso lengths. And the larger size is actually adjustable. So you can, if you buy, we call them the 3220 and the 3222. Those are the two different back lengths in inches. But you can actually adjust the larger one, so it's a little shorter.
Because a lot of active people tend to be on the taller size, and there is a bit of a frustration in the sense that the back lengths tend to be fixed. So it's nice to see that manufacturers actually consider that tall people do ride bikes and so on.
Exactly, that's true. And we worked really hard to make these very lightweight and comfortable too. There's a bio curve on the back so that it's easy on your back. It doesn't pressure too much into your backbone. On the top satiatic bone, I guess is what it is.
And there's an air channel going down the center as well?
There is, yeah. And so with the lightweight, we've worked really hard on these so that there's not pressure points. It's just a very comfortable pack that you can wear for a long period of time. Well, however long you're using the pack that we have. In fact, our VP was just saying he just took it through the south of France and all over trains and everything. He said it's totally comfortable. He's been really happy with it. And we've tested it extensively, actually, because we have a lot of people in-house that have been desiring a pack like this, since we're big hydration people.
Well, there's nothing better than having demand from the workforce, is there?
Exactly.
So one final question then. There's a range of colours here I can see on the wall in front of us, and what colours will we see in the UK, and when will they be available?
They're going to be green, blue, and black in each of the 5 models, and they'll be available in January 2011.
You're listening to the outdoorstation.co.uk.
One of the most interesting appointments I had this afternoon is with Toshio Shina, who is the R&D director from Evernew, and Takaya Mioshi, who handles the European market. the English-speaking market, I suppose. And thankfully, his English is impeccable, considerably better than my 3 words of Japanese. And so it was quite a pleasure to sit down with them and discuss the product range that is slowly starting to appear in the UK marketplace, and also discover some of the information, some of the background really about partly the company, but also dealing with that type of metal. And the benefits and the difficulties of working with, well, in their case, 0.3mm titanium, which is obviously a fairly delicate process. So I sat down with these 2 guys, and between us, we managed to cobble together an interview which I hope you'll find of interest. Evernew is certainly well known on the internet in America and obviously in Japan. It's a growing market, certainly in Asia we know, but your name isn't as well known in the UK, so perhaps you could just give people a bit of a background about the actual company.
Okay. Evernew Inc. started as a company 60 years ago, but actually it was a small factory in the middle of the town from about 85 years ago, and we started to produce metal items, mainly steel at those days, and we started from two pillars. One was the athletic gears. One was the mountaineering gears, such as Harkins or clamp-ons, and that led us all the way to the camping cookwares that we have right now.
Okay, so when did it change from sort of stainless steel and those materials into titanium? When did titanium become the material to use in manufacture?
キャンピングクックウェアで我々はアルミそれとステンレスを、18年
So we had been producing cookwares made by stainless steel and aluminum for like 40 years. 18 years ago, we have added titanium lineups from various reasons. And one was the weight, the durability, and also the eco-friendly part and hyperallergenic part. And the unique point was that no one was producing titanium at those days.
Okay, so titanium obviously doesn't affect people that may have allergies or problems with aluminium-based food containers and so on, which is probably one thing that a lot of people don't know. But what about the actual technical properties of the titanium when it conducts heat and heat is applied to it? Do you find that the performance of it obviously increases much better than aluminium, as we would say?
Titanium compared with aluminum or stainless steel regarding the heat conducting speed is not very fast, but the durability of this metal is super high, so we can use much more thinner plate to produce much stronger thing compared to aluminum. So we're using, for instance, for the ultralight series, 0.3 millimeter thick, very thin special metal sheet. And for the others, we are using 0.4 millimeters. And that means that the heat of the frame goes directly to the contents instead of just being blocked by the metal sheet.
And spread around the outside.
Yes.
Okay. And what about the actual grade of titanium? Because I understand in the world there are several grades of titanium, and it's something I've only recently learned.
品番というかこの薄板を圧煙してるのは多分日本でしかその圧煙技術がないとは思っています。
Japan is the only country who's producing this quality metal sheet, and Chinese people are trying very hard to catch up, but the metal sheets that they're producing is still unstable, and so they cannot do a deep pot with cold press. They have to use the heat press to lower down the durability of the product itself, and we are using the highest quality metal sheet produced in Japan.
So what are the benefits of cold pressing against hot pressing?
Well, the heat pressing will weaken the strength of the metal itself. There are ways to make it stronger with heat, like in swords or knives when you produce by metal. But in the case of titanium, if you use metal heat, when you're changing the shape, it will just drop the durability.
Okay, and now I think a lot of people, once they start to look at the brand name, will see the range of products that you produce.
Okay.
How big is the factory? Because it's very easy to assume that it's a huge factory and there's lots of people. So perhaps you could just sort of paint a picture for people so they can visualize who's working on the shop floor.
工場は小さいところ、工程ごとに工場は分かれてます。
工程っていうと例えば、
絞り工程。
Well, it's the factory itself is fairly large, but not that very huge as an automation system type of factory. And we have teams per one action. So if we just press the sheet into a pot shape, down, how do you say? 絞りってなんつったらいいんだろうな。
Press ですね。
Press
Yeah.
to make a metal sheet into a mug cup shape.
Yeah.
And then we have another step to make these lids.
The rim,
Another,
yeah.
Another step to put on these handles. And each room is consisted of around 10 people. And every team does only one action.
My estimate then is what, sort of 60 people in the company, 50 people in the company?
Approximately, yes.
Okay.
But not all the 50 people are working on the same day. They need to take holidays. So
Okay, yeah.
about 30 to 35 people are on stage for the production.
Okay. Now, across the range here that we have in front of us, we have everything that from the meths burner through the different sizes, pots, pans, pasta pots, tea kettles, the mugs, but also now we have the slightly thicker, the 0.4mm non-stick pots, and they come in a range of sizes from 600ml up to 2 or 3 litres for the larger sizes, which I don't have in front of me, so I'm not completely sure. Now, tell me about the non-stick coating, because there's been some concerns in the world about the PFOA, which I can't say, but I mean, my friend on my left can say the name.
Powerful or octane.
There you go, you see? Fluent in English. So, tell me about the coating that's, and why it's a better coating than others on the market.
So this complicated name, PFOA, is sort of an acid, and it is always contained in Teflon or other F-type of coatings, whereas this coating that we are using is silicone ceramic coating, which has no PFOA in it.
So that makes it more durable, as well as obviously more safe for people concerned. Because I know there's been some health concerns, particularly with children with certain types of Teflon coating.
That's correct, yes.
Okay, just finally then, as I say, the range consists of probably about 20 or 25 different shapes and sizes and items, all of which have got specific features and benefits. How did the range come together? How did the designs evolve into what we see in front of us from your early days?
Well, if I can make it that very easy, that's from his personal demand. He wanted to produce what the items that he thinks he needs for his camping, and the range grew bigger and bigger and bigger because he was talking with various other people, listening to other opinions, and designing one by one, adding the range to become this big. But now we're in the European market, and we're getting lots of advices and opinions from many countries. So I'm pretty sure that we're going to have larger range in the coming couple of years.
Okay. And on that final point, when we came in, we had, I think, some people from Sweden here. How have you found the feedback from the different European countries, the French, the Swiss, the Germans? Do you find that they're interested in specific areas, that certain people are interested in the larger pots, certain in the smaller pots? Just out of curiosity, really.
Well, I'm still in the learning stage, so I don't know much yet, but the couple things that I felt was the people from UK and France, there are a certain number of really stoic, ultra lightweight direction people. And so our customers are like that. So from UK and France, the demands only are concentrated into the ultralight series. And from the customers of Norway, they're using our pots for the expedition purposes for the North Pole or the Greenland. And they always choose the biggest pots to melt the snow to make water. And the German people, they tend to go for the cheaper ones. So they either pick up the aluminum or the 0.4 millimeter for more number of people camping purposes. And Switzerland and probably Austria is quite similar, but I still don't know which direction they will go because they are just carrying almost all the range and test marketing it.
Just see which way it goes, yeah. And curiously, what about Japan? We know very little about Japan apart from you produce some fantastic quality products, and they're usually beautifully designed and elegantly put together. What is the outdoor scene and interest like in Japan?
日本ではもう結構販売して長くもうやってますんで、大体
In Japan, we have been selling these products for more than 15 years. And so it started actually from the lightweight people, the ultralight hikers, and also the people who goes for the peak of the mountains. But now it's already going all the way down to the normal campers, and many of the normal, weekend campers are already using many of our titanium products.
Okay. Well, I'd just like to thank you for having your desires and needs to design this complete range, and I look forward to using it when we're camping.
ありがとう。これからももっといろいろいいものを開発してください。開発してください。はい。
はい、結構皆さんの意見、特に海外からの意見が結構ここに来て要望が。
He had been very much helped from the opinions, the demands, the wishes from his customers in Japan, and now he's having more and more opinions from all over the world. So he would very much appreciate it if you also can provide him any sort of advices or opinions or wishes for the future.
With over 1 million listeners worldwide, the Outdoor Station is the leading online audio resource for those into the great outdoors.
The MSR range of tents and shelters is well known for their high quality and attention to detail in all of their products. And whilst wandering around the show, I noticed that there was one tent on their display stand, which the shape of which I had seen before. And it was quite fortunate that I managed to speak to Dale Karikostas, who is the director of tents and shelters at Cascade Designs. This particular tent that, when I saw it, 4 or 5 years ago, I thought it was quite a good idea. Single skin, lightweight, plenty of room, but it had a few little flaws. So we started talking about that and then went on to a few of the other items which I think will be of interest to particularly those interested in the lightweight market. So as the interview progressed with Dale, as you'll probably notice, we started to get very, very carried away because we were both bivvy and tarp people. And so he was happy to share a lot of the ideas and plans for 2011 with us. I've seen this shape before with an MSR logo on it, but and it hasn't appeared for a year or so. So here we are with it back on the stand. Tell me the story.
Well, there's a lot of tents out there that utilize a similar shape to what's either been before or what will come future, but you can make changes to it and it becomes a different tent, right? So, a car has 4 wheels and a steering wheel, but you have a lot of different varieties and they're all different styles. So this is a new version of what we took off on what was the missing link, which was the kind of style and shape you were referring to before. Mm-hmm. This now tent is called the Fast Stash. The missing link, still one of my favorite tents out there, but had a few limitations to it. Primarily, it had a really big, long back section on it, which was fantastic if you're using it above tree line, gave you a lot of space, but unfortunately, when you were below tree line, spaces and camp spots were a little tighter, and so it made it much more difficult to find a good spot to set the tent up.
Okay, so if I can just stop you there so we can describe it to perhaps people that haven't heard the term or the name of the product before. We're looking at, what would you say, from the side, a wedge-shaped tent which is supported by 2 walking poles at the front. Is that a reasonable description?
Yeah, it's a very accurate description of that. Or you could think of it as kind of an old kind of scout pup tent, only cut in half, so that you enter in from the side instead of entering in from the ends.
Okay, and we have a nice porch area, an area that comes over the front of the door, so that should you be going into the entrance there, it's not going to be taking water in with you. So I think we've established the shape of it. Now let's talk about some of the features.
Absolutely. So one of my favorite features about this tent is, of course, we're in Seattle and it rains every so often there.
Really?
Yeah, that's the rumor at least. So we're going to keep perpetuating that rumor at least. And so we hike when it rains. So we want to have a shelter that we can put up very quickly, that we can take down very quickly, and that we can keep our gear dry in. So you'll see that it has a D-shaped door, but is fixed at the bottom. That's really nice because after you get it set up very quickly, and we'll demonstrate that in a second for you, your dry gear goes inside, and you can very quickly just lay the door, which is of course completely waterproof, over all of your dry gear, and you now have a place to sit that's nice and dry on top of your gear as you take off your wet layers of Gore-Tex or whatever your waterproof layers are as you're wearing. Then you can take them and set them off to the side over here where they're still covered, but they're protected from the rain, but they can still also dry out without getting the inside of your tent wet. So it gives you that nice outside storage area as well. Now, one of the things I think is important to mention here is that this tent's only 1.3 kilograms. So it's still exceptionally lightweight, but the floor plan size of it is what a lot of people would consider a 3-person footprint, just from the square footage of it. Yet we're calling it a 2-person tent because we like to make sure that people are having a nice livable experience in the outdoors and not suffering. Because people don't want to suffer in the outdoors. You want to go out there and have a good time.
Well, we also have wind in this country as well, or in the UK, and I think that was one of the things I noticed in the previous design. There wasn't a way for the large surface area to be held back under tension should the back of the tent, the rear of the tent, catch a reasonable force of wind. And I noticed now there's a new attachment point there, and on top of that, you seem to have been placing more bug netting either side of the tent and above it as well, which obviously allows greater ventilation.
Yes, we definitely added more guide points to the tent to make it really very structurally tight, so you can guide out and really make it very storm-worthy. One of the challenges with the previous design was that it was very solid. There was some mesh to it, but really it was dependent more on the window of the door. There was a small mesh panel in the back. But with this, we've now made both the sides complete mesh, and then have designed awnings that pull off to the side that keep it completely covered. So even in really strong storms, you can have the sides pulled open and allow that mesh to really do a good job of ventilating on each side, so you get really nice cross ventilation, in addition to mesh above the door, and the door also has a closable window that's half mesh. So you can really have this thing be a very open, almost a bug netting shelter underneath a tarp, except that it's all one piece. So yes, that was one of the main things we wanted to address, was the added ventilation as well. One of the other key parts too, and you mentioned wind, is that from the side, the previous version that you're referring to had big flat sides.
Yeah.
These 2 panels off on the side actually pull off and shed wind much better as well, by tensioning that top ridge line, as well as providing coverage from rain.
And it presumably also gives you the 90 degree tension on the actual vertical poles as well, to make sure there's 3 tension points, isn't it?
There's 3 tension points on it. So much like you would have a telephone pole or a radio tower that has guy lines coming off of that, all the seams on this tent act like those guy lines pulling off to keep those poles nice and tight and the tent structure very stable around them.
Well, it's certainly worth noting for people listening to this who want a tent of this capacity, and has to be said, it is huge. Certainly, I'd agree with you. I'd put it, you could say 3 people, certainly. Is that it's a single skin tent, so ventilation is important. Certainly with humid weather that we're actually suffering at the moment in Germany here at this trade show. Obviously Seattle's different to the UK, so how do you guys sort of see this sort of product performing in the UK and sort of mainland Europe?
The weather in the UK is really more similar to Seattle than you would think, in that we do have kind of cool weather. We have lots of fog. Sometimes the air is not moving very much at all, and then sometimes you have big gusty winds that come in. For us, right off the Pacific. For you, right off of the Atlantic. We're both on the western coast of our continents, so we do have somewhat of a similar weather pattern in that regard, and temperature-wise as well. Both we experience a lot of rain too. We test our tents a lot in the Cascades, And there, like I say, it's either snowing or it's raining, and usually not much in between. So we've already had a lot of nights, many months actually of nights in this tent, and it's just performed great. So I would expect it to do equally well in the UK as well.
I can certainly see that one of the rules for adventure racing in the UK is that the tent that you use has to have a sewn-in ground sheet, and certainly the weight of this is very attractive. But have you got the stash sack to see how big it is when it's crunched down in size, when it's packed away?
I do. It'll be a little bit smaller than the one you're going to see here. But you can see here that it's probably about 6 centimeters around, and length on it is really dependent on the poles. So if you're taking your trekking poles, you don't need this whole long stuff sack. The stuff sack is really the length that it is because of the poles that we're including for people that aren't necessarily hiking, but are using it maybe for bike touring, or are going to be doing a canoe trip, and they aren't going to take trekking poles with them because you can't paddle a canoe very fast with a trekking pole. So we wanted to include poles with it to make it more versatile for everybody to use a tent like this.
So tent on its own, we're looking probably about the size of a loaf of bread?
Oh yeah, or maybe even a little bit smaller than that.
Excellent. Now, the other product that caught my eye, I just saw somebody waving around, is a new bivvy bag that's come from you, and this is, I think, going to be of interest to certainly UK users, particularly people up in Scotland. So could you tell me a bit more about this, please? First of all, with the name.
Sure. So we've actually got 2 bivvy sacks in the line now. This is called the E-bivvy. We did have an E-bivvy in the line this year as well, which was really an emergency bivvy, is what the E stood for. And it was really designed to be super small, compact, and light, and really you would just throw it in your pack, and you would only take it out and use it when you absolutely needed to in an emergency situation. Now the E stands for essential, because I think it's really the essence of what a bivvy sack is. I made the coating a little bit lighter on the top. It's still a silicone fabric here, but made it a little bit lighter weight coating so that it breathes better, so you get less condensation on the inside. Still has a 10,000 millimeter coated floor on the bottom for high water repellency as well as good durability and abrasion resistance, but wanted to make the top a little bit lighter weight. There's no mesh to it. It's just a very simple bivvy sack with an envelope-style opening at the top, very long, designed for you to slide in towards the bottom. The opening will sit right where your head is, and then there's still space at the top for you to throw your rucksack in the top to give you that extra storage space and keep it nice and dry. It's really super, super light. You're looking at about 200 grams. And then, and so really designed to kind of be used either in, I would say, heavy condensation, dew, emergency situations, or underneath a tarp is that perfect little add-on piece, because I'm a big tarp camper. So I like to sleep under a tarp, but have just that little bit of extra protection just in case. And that's really where the E-bivvy or the essential bivvy comes into play.
Well, you and I are both talking the same language because I'm also a tarp user as well. And there's certainly great demand for a bivvy bag, which is water repellent, water resistant, not necessarily completely waterproof, because you do get the horizontal variety that tends to come under sometimes. You just want to protect yourself and protect your down bag without having to worry about the compensation you have to have with the breathability over waterproof material. Now, is it the same material in this new bag as well?
No, the new bag is the AC bivvy or all conditions bivvy.
Oh, okay.
So much like before we had one bivvy sack, it kind of had to do everything for us. Mm-hmm. So it was a little bit more waterproof, not quite as breathable. Now I've made it more breathable, which of course means it's a little bit less waterproof.
Right.
So I brought a new bivvy sack into the line that could be used completely standalone by itself without a tarp in bad conditions, and it's our all conditions bivvy. Now it's still going to be a minimalist bivvy. There's no hoops added to it or anything else which add extra weight or bulk to it. Because if you really want to keep it off of your face, you could wear a baseball cap or something with a brim, and that keeps the materials off your head. So this one is made of a polyurethane coated waterproof breathable top, still your 10,000 millimeter bottom, fully taped seams, and because it is all conditions, and we realize that some of the conditions out there are bugs, we do include a mesh layer over the opening too, so you can protect yourself from biting bugs and mosquitoes. So that's the new, it still has the same format, same shape as the E-bivvy, only done with a fully waterproof and breathable top layer and the mosquito netting on the top as well. And this one's going to come in at 450 grams, so still exceptionally lightweight, especially for an all protection, all conditions bivvy sack.
Okay, well, two final questions, I suppose. We're looking at them at sort of a dull yellow, I suppose, the colours of the materials. Are the colours, these are the colours the materials, the products are going to come in, including the tent, and when will they be available in the UK?
Absolutely. These are the colors. The we wanted to go with something that was a little bit brighter because we know that people that are out there going super lightweight and kind of pushing that envelope out there, they like something a little bit brighter, just, because you want to be seen. Hey, look, I've got really cool new gear. But at the same time, we didn't want to make it garish. So we did try to keep it more of a mustard yellow and not necessarily a bright neon yellow. The AC bivvy is a little bit brighter of a yellow, and that's primarily because of the coating that we're using to the inside that is that waterproof breathable is a white coating. And so when you have that white shining through that mustard yellow, it makes it a little bit of a brighter color to it. So it's actually the same color base material, but that added white color to the background is it. Now, one of the things that I did want to point out, and I hate to jump back to the Fast Stash, which is the name of the tent that we're sitting in right now, but to me, one of the things that's most important about camping, and one of the reasons why I love tarps in general, is because you get to see everything that's around you. You hike, you go the extra distance to see that summit, or to look at the river or the lake you're at. And if you're in a traditional tent, you have to zip the vestibule down when it's raining and nasty. And as you can see here, we have a huge door that you and I can both sit in together. We can cook our meals right outside the tent, but still be protected while sitting inside of our tent. And we have the great view right here opened up. The tent's called the Fast Stash because we very quickly can drop the poles, completely collapses down, so we can go off on a hike, leave all of our gear stashed inside, safely and secure and out of sight, and completely waterproof and protected. We come back, pop the poles up, and it literally takes 5 seconds to reset your tent up, and you're back under your safety of your shelter. So it's really fantastic. And the sides that we talked about before that provide that added protection, strength of the sides covering up the mesh can also be rolled up in really nice weather to give you great flow-through ventilation, or you can pull them into the side and they serve the purpose of closing off that window when you want that extra warmth built into the tent as well. So what I love about this tent is it takes a tarp to a whole new level in giving you bug protection, full access to views, as well as incredible ventilation and the ability to stash your gear and reset it up very quickly.
Okay, I'm almost pressing hard on the checkbook. When's it going to be available in the UK?
It'll be available January 1 of 2011.
Well, that pretty well brings this podcast, the final one from Friedrichshafen 2010, to a close. And I'd like to thank all my guests for contributing to the show, to Tammy, to Toshio, Takaya and Dale. Thanks very much indeed for their time and their input. Rose and I have now got to do an assortment of planes, trains and automobiles to get back home. But I'm sure that when we get home at Sunday evening, then we'll start again on Monday morning and catch up with all the paperwork and everything we've missed for the last few days, which is such fun when we're just feeling so shattered. It's been fairly pleasant weather, as you've probably picked up over the last few days. Very warm, so warm in fact it's been uncomfortable to sleep in the evenings. But on a crowded campsite with several hundred of the people, some of which want to party until late in the evenings, or very, very late in the mornings probably. In some cases, it's been somewhat tiring. But this is what you have to do to find out what's going on in the international market. Anyway, folks, that brings this one to a close. Many thanks indeed for all your feedback and so on. If you do have time to vote for us, if you'd like to vote for us in the European Podcast Award, please follow any of the links on the Outdoor Station website or the Backpacking Live website. I think there's still time to vote on that, and that would be greatly appreciated. So, until next time, take care out there and, enjoy the sunshine. Bye for now.
Thank you for listening to this podcast. To hear more from our extensive free library, please visit the website at theoutdoorstation.co.uk.
You can now follow The Outdoor Station on Facebook, where we chat about each program we produce, answer questions and discuss future productions. Why not join us there?
This podcast is produced and hosted by theoutdoorstation.co.uk.